Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to Coding with DC. In this video, we are going to go together and find why JavaScript is the programming language that you should learn and why should you prioritize it over other programming languages. So, let's go for it. In this video, I want to talk with you about 5 specific reasons to learn JavaScript. But first, let me clarify something. This video shows real data that indicates why JavaScript is a really good language to learn, objectively speaking. Having said that, how do we interpret this data and the final suggestion of learning JavaScript goes on me, and it's entirely my personal thoughts about it. It doesn't mean that this is true or is false. I'm only going to give you the data so you can make your own choice. But if you decide to learn JavaScript, in this channel we are going to teach you all about it from absolutely scratch to expert. Another quick thing is that these 5 reasons are not in order of importance, and it's you who is going to decide what matters most for you. Cool. So let's start with the first reason why you should learn JavaScript. Okay, so JavaScript is one of the most demanding languages in the world. As you may know, Indeed.com is one of the top websites to search and offer jobs online. So let's see this picture. Here is an Indeed job openings picture from 2017, but this is still being almost the same today. Java, JavaScript, and Python are languages that have a lot of job openings. In other words, employers want people that know how to code in JavaScript. So JavaScript here is number 2, but it depends on the year. It's always on the top. Okay. Now, I know what you may maybe you say, okay, I'm learning programming because I love programming itself, and money may not be the number 1 factor why are you choosing a programming language. You can make a very good living with any programming language. That's for sure. Because I always say, key concepts of programming are first, and the programming language itself that you choose goes after that. So here, it indicates that JavaScript is one of the programming languages that employers are more looking for. So let's see in the next slide, here, the programming languages used in most popular websites. Okay, so connected to the reasons that is highly demanded, JavaScript is used in basically every big and small internet company in the world. In some of them, it's their main programming language, and in others, it's not. But they always code in JavaScript. You can see it here. This is the most popular websites in the world. We have Google, Facebook, YouTube, Yahoo, Amazon, and many others. But what you can see here is that they all use JavaScript in their front ends. That's basically because they can't use any other one. So you know that they always are going to need JavaScript developers. And this applies to big companies, but also to small companies, okay? So here it says that Google, for example, also use what is called TypeScript. And Facebook is using what is called Flow. Now, TypeScript and Flow are what is called a superset of JavaScript. Okay, so to make it easy for this video, they are also JavaScript, but with some, let's say, superpowers. Okay, so you can also see that some of them also use JavaScript in their servers, like eBay here or LinkedIn here, right? And they use JavaScript in the front ends, but also in their servers. So it is everywhere, and this last thing of they are using JavaScript in the servers lets us to the second reason why you should learn JavaScript. And the second reason is that it can be used for almost everything. So if someone says to you, which was very typical like 10 years ago, JavaScript is only for front-end, you just reply that you are 10 years late. Okay, that's because JavaScript can be used in web development, in the front end itself for sure, but also can be used in the backend, as we saw that eBay and LinkedIn are using, mobile development with React Native, NativeScript, and many others, Ionic itself, machine learning with TensorFlow.js and other libraries, so basically data analytics. We can use JavaScript for desktop apps with Electron. We can use Internet of Things and with sensors and all kind of stuff. We can do game development with JavaScript. We can also use with Node.js, we can create code flying robots, right? We can make the code to be able to work with them, right? So JavaScript is can be used for everything. So that's the reason number 2 why you should learn JavaScript. And yeah, it can be used for a lot of things. So let's go to the reason number 3 why you should learn JavaScript. So the reason number 3 is that it is beginner friendly. And we say that, I know what you're thinking. If you came from programming languages like Python that are more similar to English in their syntax, you will call me a liar. And I totally get it. JavaScript is not the most beginner-friendly language in that sense, okay, in the sense of the syntax, but it's not the worst either. In fact, the code itself can be self-explanatory, and it's not super with syntax like other languages like Perl, right? But besides that, JavaScript is a beginner-friendly programming language. Why? Because JavaScript is a language that you can see what are you coding. Okay, I absolutely recommend it because, especially if you are if you start with front-end development, which is the typical case, you're going to be able to see the result of what you're doing in an interactive visual way. Okay, it's going to be super visual, and you definitely cannot say that for other languages. This simple fact adds a lot of interest at the beginning when you need to see at least some progress in the visual way, right? So this is one of the reasons why I super recommend JavaScript to learn. And then the reason number 4 is that JavaScript is scalable, okay? Now, JavaScript is used in, as we said, in many big companies in the world, the most giant ones. You can code super big apps with JavaScript, that's for sure. And also, the supersets of JavaScript, like TypeScript or Flow, which is a topic for another video for sure, allow us to avoid some silly errors that were super useful in JavaScript because of its nature of not having types. So we're going to see more about that in other videos, but basically JavaScript is super scalable. And another thing that we have to go deep in our video because it's super interesting and it's a computer science concept itself is that JavaScript is what is called event-based. So event-based basically means this, that the JavaScript waits for events, for example, from user interaction like clicking somewhere, moving your mouse or whatever, or your pad, of course, but your cursor, to be executed, right? So each part of the code only runs as a response to some event. Some event can be like a timer, can be a user interaction, can be many things, but it basically responds to events. That's not how it works, for example, in PHP, okay, or in other languages. So that's one good thing of JavaScript, one reason to learn it. And I will say that if I have to pick one more, I will say that JavaScript will be here. How many websites are using JavaScript? As you can guess now with all this data, JavaScript is not going anywhere. you can be sure that it's going to be with us in the future. And this time that you spend learning JavaScript is actually an investment, a super good investment for you. Okay, so sometimes people want to talk about the new technologies and how are they gonna replace everything, including JavaScript. But I can assure you that JavaScript is going to stay with us for the long term. Okay, it's not going to be replaced soon. It's not only the millions of lines of code that are created every single day, but also the need to maintain millions and millions that are already coded in the apps that we are using every day, right? So yeah, this is the 5 reasons why you should learn JavaScript. And let's go with the final questions to wrap up this video. Okay? So the question is, should I choose or you choose JavaScript? And the answer is yes. JavaScript makes you valuable no matter where you work. Okay? So even if you are a Python developer or a Java developer, knowing JavaScript adds value to you. Excellent. Now, to wrap this up, let's go to the next slide and remark the importance of this statement. Okay? The computer science concepts are far, far more important than any specific programming language. Okay? Let me repeat it again. Computer science concepts in general are far more important than what programming language you choose. So that's why in this channel we are covering them too. Sometimes they are fun, sometimes the computer science concepts are boring, but for sure it's more important than the language itself. So you can change from one programming language to another and it's not going to be any problem. But the computer science concepts apply for all of them. Okay? So basically that's it for this video, guys. I hope you really enjoyed it. I'm gonna create some videos that are going to be a bit more specific, like JavaScript versus Java, JavaScript versus Python, and so on. And we're going to see what are the advantages of learning JavaScript, but what are the advantages also of learning another programming languages like Java or like Python, C# or any other. Okay, guys, that's it for this video. I hope you really enjoyed it. Please subscribe to the channel, smash the like button. If you have any doubt, any comment, please leave it in the comments below so I can reply to you. I'm gonna see you in the next one.